This is a story about how a teacher named Ms. Moriguchi takes her revenge on two of her students. Chapter 1. We start off as we see some papers with the end of the year closing ceremony and some kids drinking their milk from a carton. We see a teacher saying that, as this year, their school has become a model school for the National Junior and Senior High School Dairy Gearing Up movement. As the students don't pay attention to her and do as they like, she continues and says that they are all in their secondary sex characteristic development period. In other words, puberty. As she's saying this, she thinks to herself, if you wish to enter the land of anxiety, walk through these gates. She continues telling them that in April's examination, they will see how much dairy products have had effect on their 13-year-old body and mind. As she says, if you wish to walk through these gates, she looks at the students having fun as they do their own things and thinks that she can't wait. She continues and tells them that she won't be here though. At the end of the month, she will be resigning as a teacher. As she makes this announcement, everyone starts paying attention to her. Some students start talking about if she will really resign. She continues and says, I do hope I was a good teacher, but I don't know if I was. As she's saying this, a girl yawns and looks out the window and sees the rooftop of the school building on the other side. On the rooftop of the building, we see some kids who seem to be bullying another kid. We see this as the teacher continues and asks the students in the class if they know who Mr. Masayoshi Sakuranomiya is. As the other kids don't know who he is, a hand raises up with great enthusiasm as the student says that he knows who it is. He pulls out a book, and as his eyes start to sparkle, he says that Mr. Sakuranomiya was a delinquent who got expelled, then traveled the world, and then became a junior high school teacher after he returned to Japan, publishing books, going on TV. As the student is talking about this, the other student next to him seems very uninterested and annoyed even. The enthusiastic kid tells the teacher that he's a huge fan of Mr. Sakuranomiya. The teacher smiles and says, I see. She tells them that last year, Mr. Sakuranomiya was told that he only had a few months to live, but he continued to engage in teaching activities with passion. With a warm smile on her face, she tells them that the first junior high she worked at was also where he was working. Hearing this makes the enthusiastic kid scream, no way, really? We hear another student get angry and say, shut up, Abe, to him. The teacher takes a book and flips through the pages and says, those with weak hearts trample upon those with weaker hearts. As she continues to say this, we see the boy from the rooftop getting worried as the bullies approach him. She continues and says, are the only options for the trampled to endure or choose to die? Nay, the world is much bigger than that. If you cannot endure being where you are, then evacuate to a different place. The class starts chattering as she stops speaking. Suddenly, a young student stands as he holds an empty carton of milk. She continues and says that compared to Mr. Sakuranomiya, she may have been an insufficient instructor. She looks at the kid with the carton going to throw it away and keeps saying that if they had wanted a teacher like in television shows who listens to their every problem, she looks at all the empty milk cartons and continues as she says who acts and speaks to them as a friend. Then she probably seemed strict. For that, she is sorry. No matter what, she cannot believe everything they say without a speck of doubt. Hearing this makes one of the students ask, you can't trust your students when you're a teacher? She replies and says, of course, you are also good at lying. She continues and says that there was a case back in the day where a young male teacher received an email from his female student saying, I want to die. He quickly rushed to the hotel she was at. Then, she forced him and took a picture of him. It was a prank pulled by the student who couldn't stand the fact that she was corrected in class. The student showed the picture to her parents. The parents were infuriated and reported. She laughs and says that it's stupid. That teacher was naive for not doubting the students. Hearing this makes all the students look at her. She walks among the seated students and continues. Ever since the incident at this school, a teacher who was called out by a student of the opposite sex had to ask a teacher of the same sex to go help the student. A smart-ass girl with glasses suddenly says, talk about being irresponsible as a teacher. The teacher looks at her with a cold gaze. She looks straight into her eyes and tells her, it may seem that way to you, Noguchi. You live in your own world, seriously thinking about marrying an idol, and then one night you forget why you live and write an email saying, I want to die. Hearing this feels like a slap on Noguchi's face. The teacher continues and says that this is for all her students. She will give them an important speech so that they'll never think about dying again. Suddenly we go back to the kid on the rooftop being beaten by the bullies with balls. Back to the teacher, we see her write life on the blackboard. She tells the class that she's a single mother. She found out she was pregnant before her wedding and also found out that her fiancé had HIV, human immunodeficiency virus. Hearing this shocks all the students. She tells them that it's a virus that causes AIDS. As the teacher walks by, a student closes her mouth with her hands. The teacher tells her to not worry, as it's not contagious through air. Even if they shake hands, cough, sneeze, or share a bath or pool, the virus won't be transmitted. As she walks by, she taps the shoulder of Noguchi. This scares Noguchi as she quivers. The teacher continues and says that even if someone in their life had a disease, it won't affect their daily life. She reveals to them that she, in fact, doesn't have the virus. Hearing this brings a sense of relief to the students. She tells them that even if they have sex, they won't always receive the disease. With a sad look on her face, she tells them that she and her husband decided to bear their child, but chose to stay single. Even if the child didn't have the disease, the public would treat him harshly. That very fact would cause the child to suffer more than being without a father. It was his decision, and she agreed. A male student looks angry as he asks, "Didn't the father love his own kid?" Hearing this angers the teacher. She angrily replies and tells him that the father did what was best for his child because he loved her. He must have wanted to hold her more than anyone. She recalls when she gave birth to their child, Manami, and how the husband walked away from them while he cried his heart out without touching his child. She tells the class that she believes that the father was in much more pain than she was. For his sake, she loved Manami with all her heart. She looks sad as she continues and says that after Manami turned 1, she came back from her maternity leave. She left her at childcare until 6 p.m., and after 6, she left her in the care of Ms. Takanaka, who she met through a temporary employment agency. We see Manami feeding a dog named Muku behind the school swimming pool. Ms. Takanaka and the teacher look at this and smile. They see Manami and Muku having fun together. The teacher says that Ms. Takanaka fell ill this year and was hospitalized, so Manami was back in childcare. She picked her up early on Wednesdays before her staff meetings and had her wait in the nurse's office at school. Now we see Manami sitting silently in the nurse's office as the mom apologizes and runs to her. Manami looks at her mom and gets happy. She jumps into her mother's arms as she says that she didn't take a step out of the room. She didn't want to break their promise, so she didn't go anywhere. The mother hugs her and tells her that she's such a good girl. We see the teacher and Manami going home in the snow as they hold hands together and smile. In the present, we see the teacher holding a small purse, which looks burnt. The teacher looks at it with a bittersweet expression on her face. She says that Manami loved this doll that she named Bunny Fluff. She holds the purse up and asks a student named Shitamura if he remembers it. Now we see the past when Manami was crying. The teacher tries to calm her down as she tells her that she has this pink sweater, but Manami refuses and tells her that she wants the pochette purse. Suddenly, the teacher hears the student Shitamura tell her that it's just 700 yen. She should just buy it. In the present, she looks at the purse and tells him that he may have been right that time. But in the end, it turned out to be her last selfish wish. As she says this, she recalls February 13th. We see the teacher screaming for Manami as her students help her. Suddenly, a student calls the teacher and tells her where Manami is. Hearing this news shocks her. We see the teacher looking at the pool as Manami's tiny hands and shoes float on top of the water. The teacher dives into the water as she reaches her hands to her daughter. The students can't see this and break down crying. In the present, the teacher tells the class that the police concluded that it was an accident that she fell into the pool. Manami was paying a visit to the pool behind her back every week. As the students hear this, some of them start crying. The teacher continues and says that Manami was feeding her bread from lunch to Muku. With a sad voice, she tells the class that Manami is no longer in this world. As she says this, she remembers Manami laughing and calling her mama. The teacher tells them that never again will she feel her tiny hands. Her soft cheeks and silky hair are no longer within her reach. She tells them that she was responsible for her death as her mother. She clenches her fist and says that she won't let it end here. Manami didn't die by accident. She was killed by a student from this class. Suddenly, we see the student who was getting bullied. The bullies get a text from someone that the teacher is saying something crazy right now. As they get this news, they leave the student and go. We see the teacher asking the students what protects their lives, their parents, their weapons. What firmly stands and protects their lives with assurance is the juvenile law. As she's saying this, the students text each other who the killer is. The The teacher continues and says that one girl, 13 years old, just like them, killed her entire family with potassium cyanide as part of a holy ritual. She mixed harmful drugs in her family's dinner and was writing everyone's symptoms on her blog. Some student says the lunacy incident. The teacher agrees and tells them that the case was titled as such based on the girl's screen name. The mass media stirred up the incident, and foolishly, some of the kids went as far as worshipping her. A student hears this and suddenly covers her tattoo on her wrist. The teacher continues and says that as long as the juvenile law exists, the girl cannot be punished. In other words, they will not be punished for any murder. They can kill with a tool, or even with bare hands. Suddenly, she starts talking about Manami's father, Mr. Masayoshi Sakuranomiya. As she says this, she remembers the father seeing his daughter dead. He goes close to her and tells her that her papa is here. As he touches her pale face, he tells her that it's nice to meet her and hugs her as he cries. He sits there and cries his heart out. The teacher wishes that she could let him hold her while she was alive. We see the teacher and the husband sitting together in the hospital. He tells her that fate was ever so cruel to them. He thanks her for raising Manami to be so big. He's so happy to be able to see her right now. We see the father telling her that he has AIDS. The teacher couldn't find any words to give him that day. Perhaps when she lost Manami, she also lost something very precious in her heart. She tells the class that last week, she received Manami's belongings that Ms. Takanaka had. We see the teacher receiving Manami's purse, which was found in Muku's shed. She wonders why was it there? It was the pochette Manami wanted, but she never bought it for her. She remembers Ms. Takanaka say that Muku hides the ball in the shed, so is this Manami's too? Her students play catch all the time while they clean the pool. Hearing this reminds the teacher of something. That students who broke the school rules were put on cleaning duty at the pool or the gym as punishment. Hearing this makes the class restless as they ask each other who broke the rule. As the teacher opens the purse, she asks if Manami was truly alone. As she remembers some moments, she says that there were culprits. She calls the students as A and B for now. Student A had good grades and was perfectly normal in public. We see some student telling the teacher in the past that this student A, he's been picking up and torturing stray dogs and cats since grade school with his execution machine. The execution machine is some weird tool he made. He uploads pictures of the animals he killed with it onto his site. Hearing this makes the teacher say that this student A is definitely crazy. Teacher asked some teachers at A's grade school, but they said there weren't any problems, so she didn't think too deeply into it. However, this one time, student A came to her asking if she specializes in chemistry. The teacher replies and says yes. He asks, what about electronics? She tells him that his father would be more knowledgeable about that because he runs an electronics store. Student A gives her a purse and tells her to open it. He hurries to open it. As she unzips it, it buzzes and shocks her. She drops it as she screams. As he picks it up, he asks her, "Isn't it amazing?" With a delighted smile on his face, he tells her that he made it. She looks annoyed as she asks him if he's going to kill an animal with it. Hearing this removes the smile off his face. He asks her if that's all she's got to say. As he walks away, he asks her if she can hear it. She gets confused from this question. He smiles and says, "Can you hear the sound of losing something precious?" Now we see the student submitting the invention to the teacher. He wrote that this is an anti-theft wallet, which protects allowance from thieves. She looks at him with skepticism and asks him, "Isn't this an execution machine?" He rudely tells her to just sign the form. The teacher tells the class that the fact that student A added an on-off function for safety and his way of writing a science report like an innocent middle schooler both filled her with fear. Ultimately, his anti-theft surprise wallet won the National Junior High Science Fair. She continues and says that A's motive for murder was ridiculously simple. As she says this, a student stops and looks at her. She continues and says that student A wanted the world to acknowledge his talent. He wanted attention as the most prodigious man alive. However, on the day his invention made the news, the world had their attention on a 13-year-old girl. We see the teacher asking student A if he killed Manami with his invention. He tells her that she's right. No one ever looks at the good deeds. He snaps and asks her what's so great about potassium cyanide. After all, he can make the tool to use for killing. He says, "That's more amazing," and starts laughing. The teacher tells the class that she wanted to kill him after hearing that. As she says this, the whole class turns around and glares at one student. Among the students, there's one student who hides his gaze from everyone else and just looks down as he looks worried. We finally see the student A who is one of the culprits. And this is how this chapter ends. Hope you all enjoyed. Please like, share, and subscribe, and leave a comment. Thank you.